So now we're going to talk about lining up people for film sessions, which is a really hard thing to do. That's probably the hardest part of everything in life, especially as we're all college students. There's a lot of conflicts in schedules and stuff. So we'll talk about crew members first. We're going to talk about crew members, then cast members. So crew members is anyone not on camera, basically, at the shoot. It's your camera operators, your audio producers, things like that. So, and that can be that's usually different for each shoot. If you're shooting something like Second Time or anything really that involves actors, which is like everything ever. It doesn't really matter who's running what necessarily. And there's a number of factors in determining the size of your crew. It's different for every shoot usually. There's factors involved how many cameras we're using, if we're using either the 2 DSLRs or like the one Blackmagic or like all three. If you have audio in your shoot, the number of actors involved, and if you have any like props or extra equipment involved. So Second Time, as an example, we only had 2 actors in pretty much everything. It was a pretty simple setup. So we would have 2 camera operators because we had a 2-camera setup. We'd have 1 audio producer to run audio, 1 or 2 PAs, and those PAs would do things like they'd manage the slate or the clapperboard. They'd read over the script and make sure we're following the script, prop management, basic things like that is what the PAs would run around and do. So the eWeek promo is another one, and I have it here. We can watch it real quick so you get an idea of what crew goes into what video.
Start with an engineering idea. Brainstorm. Brainstorm some more. Drink coffee. Stop brainstorming. Start doing. Pick a design. Kill the design. More caffeine. Call in the graphic designer. Call in the architect. Call in the geologist. Now it's time to make something. Do it over and over. That's good. Time to branch out. Talk to the educators. Talk to the businessman. Talk to the marine biologist. See what they're doing? That's problem solving. Skip lunch. Skip dinner. Skip vacation. Hand it off to the nutritionist. Hand it off to the sociologist. Hand it off to the mechanic. Sleep? Not tonight. You've got work to do. Still not enough caffeine. Put it all together. See that? That's teamwork. Build a prototype. Build another. Refine it. Test it. Break it. Test it again. Not enough testing. That's better. Deploy it. Build it. Showcase it. Win all the awards for everything ever. Change the world. This is engineering.
Alright, so that's a good example of so that was that. So for those crew, that was a relatively small crew. That's a great example of a video we can do with a really small crew. There was just 1 camera operator. There was no audio for anything we were actually shooting live. The only audio we had was that voiceover on the music, which we did in post. So there's no audio producers, and we only needed 1 or 2 PAs, and those were for basic script supervising, make sure we didn't miss a shot, and then prop management. There's a lot of props involved in that. We're going to go more into the eWeek promo in a minute too. But that's a good example of a small crew situation. Then the HSA HHM promo, which is the Hispanic Heritage Month promo, we made last September, and I'll show you that one. That one's another good example of one with a small crew.
A, B, C. C, my parents were letters mailed overseas with no return address. The small words scribbled on paper that brought worlds here. We've struggled to put their sentences in our stories. The more we try, the more the letters slip through our fingers. D, E,
F feels like I speak through 2 sets of teeth. I can feel the vowels hit my lips at bad angles and cut my tongue to fragments inaudible to my ears. Silence, like the waves that once washed my worries and now wash my voice, clings itself to my mouth and becomes my native tongue.
Silence fills the absence, ripping the letters off the page like the heart my parents left at the other side of the horizon. The sun at that home and this one the same set. And like the sun, I also find myself in 2 places at the same time. G, H, I.
I remember the day I stopped being me and became the collection of us, ours, and we. A collection of faces and names so much my own as I am them. As they fought for justice, we watched, listened, and dreamt that one day the time would come, but the beaten path stops here.
J, K, L. Locks shackled at their feet were not enough for giants that leaned on each other for strength. Locks never host the most valued things. Like 1 ruby ring passed from father to daughter, then daughter to son. Somehow so much family fits on a finger and still weighs a ton. Or like 2 heels worn by women who laughed with their whole bodies and danced until sweat stuck their shirt to their flesh. Or 3 rotting letters sent years ago from a cell can hold hope just as well as any heart can do.
M-N-O-P. Past is the time when I thought my story wasn't worth the tale. We will strike out against silences left from generations who were met by resistance.
I will speak in words still foreign to my family, to people who never would have heard us. My voice will sound like thousands as I say, there is a better way, but we must build it together. Q-R-S.
Someday soon, our smaller selves will find the world for the first time. The face that greets our children will be ours, sculpted bit by every brick we lay today. A maze made by what we've gained and what we've lost and what we've left behind.
T-U-V. Vision, second hand and slightly used, is our only compass. We'll guide each other, hand in hand, in the dark. As we stumble, the soles of our feet, which touch two shores, will support us as we march forward.
W-X-Y. Why should we be something we're not? Our parents were letters, and we found that we're the message those letters read. We sing and speak and rain words like thunderclouds and fight against the currents like a message in a bottle that once drifted on waves of silence but now crash at the shores of acceptance. Our words will fill our empty spaces and reach farther than our mothers dreamt. Z.
Zigzagging between all the pieces that make us who we are, who we're not, and who we have the possibility of being.
It's our story. It's our time.
So, two very different videos, right? In terms of cast, the crew you'll notice is relatively similar. We also had just one camera operator. Yes, Ben.
There were more PAs at that one.
Which one? At this one? Yeah, at certain ones there are.
Like the outdoor stuff, I know was.
The outdoor stuff was just one or two PAs, but for the actual indoor scenes at the end with the dancer and the thing, we did have like I think maybe 4 or 5. And I'll tell you why, because we had to set up those backdrops and the soft boxes and stuff like that. So those we did have more for. Had no audio producers for that, 'cause once again, no on-set audio, so yay us. Saves us a little bit. Also just one camera operator. Actually at that last one we had 2 camera operators as well just to get secondary angles. But that's a good example of one that has a relatively small crew for most of the video. So things to know when you're trying to figure out how many crew members you need, because that's what this all is going to lead to, is you want to figure out how many crew members you're going to need as a director for each film session. So your crew are more flexible than your cast in a lot of ways, in that, and we'll get to cast in a minute, but crew, you know, you can kind of be like, oh, I need 4 to 6 crew members, whereas your cast, you're going to know exactly how many people you need based on the number of characters. You want to watch out, you don't want to have too many people involved. When I was in marching band in high school, we used the term too many cooks in the kitchen all the time. You don't want to have too many people helping out. Like we had in marching band, this is applicable, I promise. We had like a lot of people who would go out and try to help people figure out where they're supposed to be. And like at some point, there's too many people helping. You know, if there's like more people helping than they're getting help, there's a problem. So the same thing kind of applies here in that you don't want to have like 4 million crew members for like, you know, a 1 actor thing. Like for the E-Week video, we didn't want to have like 16 people come to each film session because there would be people for nothing. There would be people who had nothing to do. And the other important thing to keep in mind is a lot of crew positions can be easily trained on set. Like you don't have to have a ton of experience in audio production to be like, okay, you can go be an audio producer. The more the better. But pretty much anything except for camera operator, you can pretty much just walk on set and be trained on it there, assuming it's like a relatively time flexible thing and like you're trying to finish it in like an hour.